Okay, I'm loading some estate shotgun shells. They're the cheap ones, so they're a little bit peculiar, but they take a the regular wad, the WAA 12. Same thing for the Federal, same thing for the blue Peters. But these shells are a little bit peculiar because they're weak. You can get several reloads out of these things, maybe about 10 or 11. Then they start castling up pretty good. But anyway, you asked, Stephen, my nephew, asked me how to use this thing. So you obviously load this side with powder and this side with shot. You have different kinds of bushings. I'll have more on the video on which bushings to use and stuff a little bit later. But peculiar thing about loading these estate shells, you've got to I'm just starting, so I've got to do one thing to take care of. So that's the first stage that pops the shell out. I just usually in the last chamber over here, or this last section, it drops one of these primers, but it didn't drop this last one. An interesting thing too on these things are so cheap that they take and push this thing out a little bit. You don't get that with Winchester or Remingtons or the Federals, really. They don't kind of bowl out a little bit. There's a way to adjust this, but we live with it. So then your primer's already dropped down into here, into this section. Drop that right there, push that right there, push your primer in. Okay, next thing you'll do is you will take and push this right in here. Now it's a little stiff because remember it's been bowled out a little bit. It doesn't take any pressure, it just does it because it's just so cheap. You want to come down here and your powder measure, slide it over, boom, the powder's dropped in. Then you'll take your shell, or your wad, take a wad, put the wad down in, then you jack the shell, you just drop the shot charge. Now on these, you don't have to do this on Remingtons, but you do on these estates and the Federals. You've got to pull that up past the lead, and then there's these little numbers on here, and what you're doing is just you're loading it. You're just kind of pre-compressing that wad so that you can get a good crimp on it. Then you'll pull it out, move it into the next section, pre-crimp, slide it over to the next section, crimp, and see it dropped that last section, it dropped the primer there, and you've got one shell ready to go. Very easy to use. This thing makes it all worthwhile. Okay, these are inexpensive Federal cases. These are mainly, like I say, the dove and quail loads that you find. By the way, the shot that I'm using is 7.5, and I'm using 1 1/8 ounce. Most of the stuff you buy at the store, the on sale is always 1 ounce. But this is 1 1/8 ounce, so I call it a good heavy field load. You can use actually this for, you could shoot chuckers with it, but I prefer to shoot even bigger shells, 1.25 ounce when I'm using a 12. Anyway, 1 1/8 ounce, the powder I'm using is unique, and I'm using just like 7.5 ounce. So when you load these, they're a little bit different, Stephen. You take and you pop that out. Obviously, they won't crown like those estates will do. So they stay pretty true. Pop the new primer in. Let's see. Not going all the way in for some reason. Okay, pause. For some reason that one particular case would not take. We just loaded the other one and it took it just fine. Beautiful reload. You can see the crowning on that, or the crimp. It's beautiful. But on this one, it wouldn't accept that. Don't know why. So I'll just throw that over in here, scrap pile. This one's got more high brass. This is more a better, much better shell. So we'll take and pop that one out. And do this. I gotta drop the primer in there just to get this thing going. See, that one went in all the way just fine. So then I'll stick this underneath here, and this is your powder. It drops it in there. Now we'll bring this up, drop a wad into here. Now I've loaded it, and I will. Now what we got to do is compress that. It's got a little gauge on here. I like to do it just a couple of times, maybe 3, just to make sure, because these Federals were crimping or were bulging right up above the. They were bulging right here before, and so you see that's a little bit of a goofy crimp, but that's what happens when you use these inexpensive cases. So anyway, Federals, like I said, the best ones that I see out there are the Remington Peters for me. They load fast and quick. Okay, these Remington, these blue, they're the Remington Peters shells. The plastic is thick. It's kind of like the Winchester AA hulls. They're thick and they're better. And you'll see you don't have to preload them, and you don't have to be nearly as careful with smashing that wad down with these as you do with those Federals and the Winchesters, the cheap stuff that just doesn't work very well. So pop that primer out, put a new primer in. It's nice and tight on there. Drop the powder. Bushing number 34. I'm using Unique. I'm using, like say, AA12 wads. 7.5 on the shot. It's an ounce and 1/8. Roll that thing up. Give it one smash like that. Drop it over here. Drop it in here. And come out with literally a perfect shell. Perfect. And we're just going to drop them in here. These reload so much faster than those other ones. I got those others out of the way. It took me forever, but just something to be aware of. Buy the higher grade shells.